hearing him. So please come in and just say something. Hi to Abhilash.
Hello, Abhilash.
First of all, namaste. Good morning to all of you. Namaste, namaste.
Namaste, namaste.
வணக்கம் ஐயா, நாங்க உங்க நாடகத்துல நடிச்சிருக்கேன்.
Namaste, Kale. Namaste.
Good morning, Abhilash. Nice to see you back here again.
Namaste to you also. Wonderful to meet you on this virtual platform.
Hello, Abhilash.
Hi, Annie.
Hello.
Wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
Hi, Abhilash. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
You know me very well. I'm Hema here.
Namaste.
Namaste, namaste.
When have you met in real?
Sorry? Sorry, what did you say?
We haven't.
When did you meet in person last time?
No, I think
before March.
Yeah, before March. Yes.
Both are teaching in NSD and they have met in March.
Yeah. On virtual platform.
Namaste, Pillai sir.
Namaste, namaste.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Great pleasure, sir, to listen to you.
Wonderful that all of you are here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Abhilash, അരുൺലാലിനെ പരിചയമുണ്ടോ?
എനിക്കറിയാം, പക്ഷെ മേ ബി നോട്ട് എന്താ പറയണ്ടേ, നേരിട്ട് അങ്ങനെ.
ഓക്കെ. ജയസൂര്യ കണ്ടായിരുന്നോ?
ജയസൂര്യ മാസ്റ്റർ ഉണ്ടോ?
ജയസൂര്യ ഒന്ന് മുഖം കാണിക്കോ അഭിലാഷിനെ?
നമസ്കാരം ജയസൂര്യ സാറേ.
നമസ്കാരം അഭിലാഷ്
സാറേ നമസ്കാരം. ഒരുപാട് കാലമായി കണ്ടിട്ട്. എല്ലാ രീതിയിലും നമസ്കാരം സർ. റിയലി ഹാപ്പി ടു സീ യു സർ.
വളരെ സന്തോഷം.
വത്സല ചേച്ചി ഉണ്ടെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു അല്ലേ?
നമസ്കാരം ചേച്ചി. നമസ്കാരം.
പിന്നെ പോയത്
ഹലോ.
ബോസേ
ഏത് നെല്ലിയാണ കൊടുക്കണം.
Others also please come in and just say something. Please feel free to come and say something, everybody.
Good morning, sir. This is Kishore from Assam.
Welcome, Kishore.
Thank you, sir.
You're from Guwahati or somewhere else?
Jorhat. It is 300 kilometers from Guwahati.
Okay.
I have been attending these sessions.
No, I've seen you almost regularly. We have not talked, like where are you from, what are you doing, etc.
Okay, now I did my 1-year theatre course from National School of Drama Sikkim Theatre Training Center, and now I am in Pondicherry University Theatre Arts Department.
Okay, you're doing a PG there.
Yes, yes.
So are you now in Pondicherry or in Assam?
No. So I am in Assam now, right now, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Should we start, Chandrasanji?
Sudhir? Sudhir? Hello, Sudhir. Sudhir? Hello, Sudhir. Sudhir, please unmute. Unmute, Sudhir.
Okay. Oh. Start ചെയ്തോളൂട്ടോ ഒരു സെക്കൻഡ്.
One second. Is Sudhir?
ഇതിപ്പോ ഒരു സെക്കൻഡ്.
Can we start then, Shobha?
Yes, please.
Sudhir is unmute. I don't know what's happening there. So anyway, we have to.
Yes, please start.
Yes. So welcome to the 21st talk in the Lokadharmi Theatre Talk series, and we had totally different theatre people from all over the country and sometimes from outside India coming and talking about different aspects of performance in this last 20 Sundays. This is the 21st Sunday we are doing it, and what we are doing is we have a guest who is a very active theatre person talking about a specific area of theatre and performance, and we have a very good interaction happening after this talk with him. We have a wide range of audience with us from all over the country and sometimes from outside India also. We're going Facebook Live, which people will be seeing later also. Another thing which we are trying to do is that we are transcribing these talks and trying to make it out into a form of a book. We have already started work. We have an editorial board of 5 people. 2 of them are already locked in, Ajay Joshi and Anakha. So they are doing the part of that. So this is the 21st talk, and we have Abhilash Pillai today with us. And we had Abhilash earlier, very briefly for 10 minutes, to remember about Al-Qazi, when suddenly when Al-Qazi was no more on the next Sunday. And that is just a memorial talk on him. Now Abhilash is talking about the post-traumatic theater. There's no need to introduce Abhilash to all these theater-loving people hearing, because almost many of them have worked with him, talked with him, interacted with him, and he's a very known face in theater, not just in India, outside India also. So, but for the sake of introducing, and for anybody, if there's anybody who is new to Abhilash, I'm just introducing very very briefly about him. And he hails from Trivandrum, Kerala, and he started his theatre from his childhood, means school days, and elected to. And his father, Mr. Pillai, was a student of not the National School of Drama, but the Asian Dramatic Institute, I think that's the name, just before it was renamed into NSD. He was one of the first persons who has pursued theatre academics from Kerala. So he comes from a family of theatre training and pedagogy. He joined the School of Drama Trissur and completed a course there. Moved on to Delhi, National School of Drama, as a student there. After completing his course from there, he went on to Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London, did a course there, and then came back and completed his PhD in theatre from Jawaharlal Nehru University. So academically, he has a very good, great profile. And then he joined the School of Drama as a teacher there. Now he's a professor of the National School of Drama and the Dean of Academics there. So that's his teaching background, pedagogy and teaching and academics. So he's one of the most important theatre pedagogues, theatre teachers of the country, and he has been teaching not just in NSD, he has been teaching in many institutes all over India and outside India, in Korea, in many Asian countries. He has been regularly going and teaching and doing. That's one aspect of him. And he has started his theatre as a theatre maker. And soon after he completed graduation from School of Drama, he joined Abhinaya theatre in Trivandrum, was the artistic director there, and they did good productions. And from there he moved to Delhi, Rada, etc., and came back to Delhi, and then occasionally came back to Kerala, did a production and went back. And when we look into the work of Abhilash, we can see a very graphical change from where he started. So beginning, he has been doing productions like Saketham, Amanishan Needane, and the Totiyada Magan is adapted as Klav. And then he moved on to Delhi, and he started continuously working on the form and the content and the method of doing it. The methodology of doing it is not just the product, but the process also he has been renewing. And there's a continuous shift which he's undergoing himself. He's always testing himself. He's not locked into one particular form or one particular methodology or one particular style which he found comfortable when doing a production. But in the next production, we see Abhilash trying something new and something expanding or shifting his attitudes. So the productions like Midnight Children, Taj Mahal, Helen, Clytemnestra, and the Array, Beda Shakespeare, Clowns and Clouds, to Talatam or to The Blind Side. The shift is there, and you have Deepan Sivaraman, who has been collaborating with Abhilash in many of his productions as a scenic designer along with us. So even also maybe coming and speaking something in between, maybe it's an informal session. So from the classical text to creating productions to interacting with other forms, redesigning spaces, redefining the role of the actor, redefining the performance aspect of it, and the use of the text, the amount of the text, the interpretation of the text, the dealing of the text, the molding of the text to suit his performance concepts and construct. He's been always renewing and working ahead, and he has been in tune with, or in at the same pace with, the movements happening all over the world in this aspect. So he's been always with the movement, the most new movements in world theater. So we already know that there's a shift that is happening in the last many 20-30 years regarding performance and theater. Post-dramatic theater is the topic which he is going to address to tell us today, which he is the best person to talk about that topic in India, and I'm not taking much of his time. So with these words, I'm very happy to have Abhilash with us, talking to us, and I invite everybody to involve in a very fruitful discussion, so that it will bring more light and more kind of ideas, information about what is happening in theater in this kind of thing. And so just before switching off to Abhilash, I'll just announce that next week we are continuing the Natya Shastra series. It's a very contradicting thing. From post-traumatic performance, we are going back to Natya Shastra, and Dr. K.J. Paulos will be doing the third lecture on Natya Shastra. And the next session is saying is the audience response and the position of audience and how the audience is going to be addressed and influenced. So the audience in Natya Shastra, the response and the position, and that will be the key area next week. Dr. K.J. Paulos will be talking to us, and then Hema Singh will be talking to us about Parsi theatre. So it's an interesting jumble of things happening. So with these words, I welcome all of you, and Abhilash and everybody else to this session. We are very happy to have this, even if it's a very sad time around us. So Abhilash, to you.
Thank you, Chandradasanji, for this. What should I say? It's a kind of an introduction which I am privileged to have that kind of introduction from you. Thank you, Chandradasanji. I also respect completely the whole Lokadharmi work and all that what you have contributed to Kerala. Thank you very much, Chandradasanji, in every way. And thank you to all of you being on this platform to come and listen what I'm going to just share on post-dramatic theatre. Probably what I will do is, I will be first talking a little bit about post-dramatic theatre, where I'll be having more of directors outside India while talking. But I'll be showing most of the videos, almost all videos of Indian directors, how they have used the elements of post-dramatic theatre. So probably I'll, as Chandradasanji told, that it's a jumble of things. Probably that's one of the aspects of post-dramatic theatre, when you bring in different things together and then you put it and then you make it like now how it will work, or how everybody collaborates and make it work. So that's quite post-dramatic, the way how you were saying that it will go back to Natya Shastra and then we'll go back to Parsi. And probably sometimes we do this in with our curriculum in National School of Drama. We give simultaneously students Natya Shastra, probably something like Kodiyatam, a Sanskrit play, a Parsi theatre, and a kind of a traditional folk theatre. So if it comes together, then how the students are going to place, and we know that at that young age, even we got the same thing. We get frustrated. We get why is this happening in this in the curriculum? Why are these four things which are completely opposites comes together? So probably I think we can probably in the post-dramatic theatre it gets answered also why modernism has these kinds of contradictions which comes together and then makes sense. So I would like to start something with the Gutenberg galaxy, the making of typographic man. I think it's a 1962 book by Marshall McLuhan, and in which McLuhan analyzes the effects of mass media, especially the printing press, on culture and human consciousness. So probably it popularized the term global village, which refers to the idea that mass communication allows a village-like mindset to apply to the entire world. And Gutenberg galaxy, which we may regard today to refer to the accumulated body of recorded works of human art and knowledge, especially books. So probably it's like when we started from the oral tradition to writing, and from writing to, then we went into something known as printing. And when it went into mass printing, then what happens is people start reading one book at different parts of the globe, and then you have similar kind of views, even though the ideologies may be different, but at the same time, and the individual will be developing through it, but the views will be similar. So probably that's the way how the global village develops, is what Gutenberg is also trying to put it here. So with the end of Gutenberg galaxy and the advent of new technologies, the written text and book are being called into question. Gutenberg galaxy says it's like the world of visual perspective is one of unified and homogeneous space. Such a world is alien to the resonating diversity of spoken words. It's interesting. So language was the last art to accept the visual logic of Gutenberg galaxy or technology, and the first to rebound in the electric age. Probably because we were much more homogeneous before the language or the words. In a way, the verbal words came into us, because we were also like any other creature with sounds, and the five senses were working like trees have their own ways of looking at this universe, at this globe, and animals have like that we have. But it was the verbal language which developed into it, is something which was also, and the language of each other. Probably the cognitive revolution is something which in a way the cognitive sensibility also is something, and through which a language developed in us, which we can communicate one human to another human in terms of words, is something which has been deeply questioned, not only questioned, and says that is one of the last things to be added into this universe for as the development of humans. The mode of perception is, that's why, shifting. A simultaneous and multi-perspectival form of perceiving is replacing the linear successive. So probably a more superficial yet simultaneously more comprehensive, in a way, perception is taking the place of the centered, deeper one, whose primary model was the reading of literary text, in a way, because the text was something which was all developing into. So in a way, slow reading as much as theater, which is laborious and cumbersome, in a kind of a dangerous or losing its status compared to the more profitable circulation of moving images. This is something which has been happening in a way with the electric age and with the way of digitalization. We know that how video images, or how TikTok, just in 15 minutes you can make a TikTok video and gets much more liking than this laborious work of theater making of 30 days to 45 days of rehearsal, and then going into front of the audience and then getting the response. And with a TikTok, you get a response in 15 minutes. So all these are also cross-compared in anybody's mind, that how is this all going to work and what is it going to. So this way of language, also the word is getting challenged, or the verbal language is also getting challenged because of the kind of visual generation which the digital media has already started, or the kind of digital revolution which has come. So what is happening with our generation probably at this time is like both theater and literature, like we know, are textures which are especially dependent on the release of the active energies of imagination, energies that are becoming weaker in a civilization of the primarily passive conception of images and data. So probably we are not there, our imagination, before it was about words, and words can drive into imagination, but probably videos are giving into something else, a kind of push to our human existence. But what is that kind of push is this neither theater nor literature is essentially characterized in that sense by reproduction, but rather organized as a complex system of signifiers. So it's like these are things which are in a system more of signifiers, and that is what is getting challenged also in a way through post-dramatic. So now let me so why I thought I should start from Gutenberg is that, see, this whole base of the kind of absolute theater in which we all have practiced is about word, and it starts from word, from playwright to word, and from word everything, almost everything is being seen through the word. So what is the importance of word, and what is the importance of language? Because language has many other ways to look into it. So probably I would say that I wouldn't put post-dramatic as an epochal category, epical category, or chronological after drama. Probably I would look into it as more a kind of a rapture, because it's a long, if we know the long history of theater from the time when people used to go for hunting, and then in the night around the fire they used to dance and narrate whatever the narrative of the day in a group where it was all interactive. So probably from there it starts to playwriting, to stage, to all different kinds of this long journey of theater. But I think in this whole long journey of theater, if you look it as a pipe or as a long channel, I think post-dramatic is a rapture, and probably a rapture which comes after Second World War. Probably because there is this the question asked about traditional relationship of theater to drama and to deconstruction. I mean, because after the Second World War, the time when we reached, we thought theater and drama has to be looked perspective. And I think somebody's sound is on. So that kind of the kind of deconstruction which is needed, and also to look theater and drama as two different aspects rather than theater is drama or drama is theater, because theater, so that's what I'll come into. So from Aristotelian time to because it was going together, and the modern epic social themes which could no longer be contained by this form. Probably this form was not enough, this kind of form of being together. I'll tell you what is a kind of an absolute form which we were used to, where it was the dominance of dialogue, the interpersonal communication, the escalation of anything which is external to the dramatic world, including dramatists and the spectators, because they were, I mean, playwright was a person who was writing, but never seen in a play, never comes up in a play, or even the spectators to whom it is being uttered. Spectators are never seen in the play. So probably these are the questions: why they are not seen? Why can't they come? And why can't they speak their own lines? The dramatist, so in a way, why are they condemned to silence? And also the unfolding of linear sequence of present and the adherence to the three unities, which was there for a very long time in theater, the unity of time, place, and action. So probably as soon as post-dramatic theater comes, the aspects of text, space, time, body, media, they become a kind of a positive analytical categories for a description of a kind of a post-dramatic or a new kind of theater. Now I'll get into this a little bit into details later, the aspects of that is text, space, time, body, and media, and I'll be also showing the videos in relation to this. But before that, I'll also just try to see that how these elements came into, I mean, these aspects came into, probably because Ibsen, Chekhov, Strindberg, Maeterlinck, Hoffmann, I mean, or when the crisis of drama manifests itself as a discrepancy between self-contained absolute of drama with its interpersonal emphasis and the new social and political, economic, and philosophical subject matter which transcends it. So probably it was these playwrights who were already feeling that this is not enough. What is that whole relation of drama in theater, or drama and theater seen together, was something which was a kind of a compromise. And we were already trying to, already this was seen in theater by these playwrights, the way how they were questioning the social structures and the form of theater by itself. So probably in 20th century, theater and drama as such have drifted apart actually in the second half of the 20th century. So, and that is because of the real questions of expulsion of the real is an essential principle of drama, and its performance through particular real individuals always already constitutes a constant latent threat to its abstract ethical content. So it's like how it's about a character we are developing, an actor, and by a playwright. But then if that character himself plays that role, then what happens? And then the role can't be in control of the playwright. Probably the character will take it. And if a character who is living, why is it that we are always trying to have a fictitious character? And why is it that when we have also an autobiographical character, why can't the character himself come on the stage and speak his own words or her own words? So that's something which was questioning. And if needed, why words? Why not? There are many other things, as we have seen from Gutenberg galaxies, that whole thing, that how human developed. So why are we so much basically based on text? So what happened in post-dramatic theater is that the text was to become just one element in scenography and general performance writing of theater. So text is not one of those main aspects which makes all the decision. It's about coming together. Text will be one of the elements. And because in scenography, we know that every material, text is also a material, every material which comes with its own identity and its own narrative and its own history, and then we collaborate. Similarly, in scenography, artists collaborate. So there isn't any position like probably we say as director, but probably it's scenographer who would look into it with all different kinds of collaborations, which one does, not only with artists, but materials, but also with space and everything. Space eventually also becomes a kind of a material then. So that the performance has the power to question and destabilize the spectator's construction of identity and the other, more so than realist mimetic drama, which remains caught in representation and thus often reproduces prevailing ideologies. So this is something which is important for post-dramatic theater. It is because you are there and you are sometimes you are participating. So probably it is yourself which is there already in the drama. And I'll come into some of the examples where the audience themselves become the participants, and they find, or they understand they are the performers in the post-dramatic theater. So that's how it becomes like in realistic play or in realist play, you are in a black hole, you are seeing the play, and it's more representational, and you get their thoughts and you interpret it in a way what they are giving it to you. So here it is not about, so the prevailing ideologies remain. But in post-dramatic, there could be a shift of the identity sometimes. So probably that has to be looked into. Now I'll just, I don't want to throw names, but I will just see some of the Western directors who have really tried writing in post-dramatic theater, or who has actually taken and gone into how to develop post-dramatic theater into writing probably, or because of the writing post-dramatic theater developed. These are because of these wonderful artists who were there. Their names like Heiner Muller, his Hamlet Machine, or Sarah Kane, The Psychosis, and Martin Krimp, Attempts on Her Life. All these, there are many different writers. from different countries, from Japan also, and from different countries. There are writers who have been writing on I wouldn't call them as completely as playwrights, but they are writers who would write and bring post-dramatic theater. Because why I'm saying this, it is in the sense that they require the spectators in this writing. They require the spectators to become active co-writers of the performance text. So the spectators are no longer just filling in the predictable gaps in a dramatic narrative, but are asked to become active witnesses who reflect on their own meaning making and who are also willing to tolerate gaps and suspend the assignment of meaning. So probably sometimes meaning by itself may not become that important, but it may be the feeling or it may be the sensuality which also have to be taken in this kind of writing. So some of the shows which I think in India which has traveled from outside, Red Rabbit, White Rabbit, where in the, that show Naseem is allowed to leave Iran. He's not allowed to leave Iran. His play with no director, no rehearsals and no sets draws attention to his status as a censored writer. I mean, actor has been always called and he's been given the script directly on the stage. And then all the audience who are there, they get a number through the script and then they have to come and play the roles. And that's how the drama actually unfolds and also becomes, and one can see what will happen. So there are many different kinds of activities, and what's happening in Iran politically is being told in a beautiful metaphorical way. And we understand the whole thing, but it's all through activities and how individual spectators also contribute to make it happen, how they connect, how they look into it, how they bring. So it's not about a playwright giving everything. It's about jointly writing. So it's like collaboration in writing. So probably that's how, there are many other shows which has traveled from outside in India. I think one of the other major company, which was Remini Protocol, the way how they conceive theater is that they don't hardly have any actors or performers. They may sometimes put their different kinds of activities like in a mall or different places, and we go there and then we register and then we enter into a mall or into a library, and slowly we understand that we are the performers and the claps are there for us, and as an audience we go, but we end up performing and there's no performers there. So how does that happen? That's the way how Remini Protocol conceives theater in the way. So that's something which is also into post-dramatic. Now, as far as directors, this is the kind of playwriting from where the writers, I was trying to say, from the normal or the kind of regular theater rather than normal, regular theater, from playwright to writer. And now from directors, I would call some of the renowned directors in this are like, I would like to call them Ovra. Ovra means, in a way, it's like a complete theater maker. People who conceive the company, who have an ideology, looks into the complete making and the philosophy of it. So they would into the process of acting onwards, everything into the thinking of audience, what could be audience, or do we need audience? Do we need a difference between audience and actors or performers, or do we need a kind of a theater itself for making theater, or making a kind of a social point? So probably here I would like to bring in some names, even though I hope I'm not name dropping. They are like Robert Wilson, Heiner Goebbels, Peter Brook, Robert Lepage, Pina Bosch, because she has done a lot of work on dance, Meredith Monk, Tadeusz Kanto, Richard Schechner, Jerzy Grotowski, Eugenio Baba, Tadashi Suzuki. They have all done in a different perspectives and worked with different elements of post-dramatic into their theater, and they have created their own kind of theater. So now I will come back to the basic aspects of post-dramatic theater are, which I told you before: text, space, time, body, media. Now, first one is text. In post-dramatic theater, breadth, rhythm, and the present actuality of bodies' visceral presence take precedence over the logos. when I'm saying logos here, I'm trying to use it as language because we communicate through symbols and through logos. So an opening and dispersal of language, or the other way, looking at logos develop in such a way that it is no longer necessarily the case that a meaning is communicated from A stage and to B spectator, but instead specifically theatrical transmission and connection happen by means of a language. And that language could be anything. As I told you before, that language could be sensual. That language could be only hearing noises. That language could be only tasting some taste. And we start feeling it. So it doesn't have to be a language which is completely given to you through words. So that's one of the primary aspects of text in post-dramatic. Then, and also if you try to see the history of this post-dramatic theater, this new kind of theater would have to be written as history of mutual disruption between text and stage. Because I think text and stage has a kind of a disruption as soon as post-dramatic comes. Because text basically asks, do we need stage? Do we need something to perform? So that it's basically a kind of a divide. Text has its own identity, its own individuality, and stage has its own individuality. So they are two different aspects, and they are not treated as one. They are not taken to be treated as one. They are not pushed or limited into the meaning-making process where you have a stage which represents a bedroom or a drawing room. No. If the stage is whatever it is, let it be that way. I will come in the space, when the point of space comes, the aspects of space, I'll elaborate it there, how the space is being looked into. So there are two different aspects, and it is kind of a disruption, which is also one of the essential points of post-dramatic theater. Now, the other aspect of the text, which is very important, is the intertextuality. Intertextuality are a significant quality of much post-dramatic theater. There are something about the ways things got used and reused, the way things moved in and out of the work. So much of the work had this complex interior history, where a single line of text in one show would become a title or even a whole character several years later. The piece may talk about physical action and set construction as forms of writing. It may talk about writing words to be seen and read on stage rather than spoken. It talks about list, about improvisation, about reading, about whispering, and about collage as a form, in each case implying a critical dialogue with more traditional notions of theater or performance writing. So probably I would say that it will challenge the traditional notion of theater. So I would here like to show you the video of Raj Darpan. Now this is a play which was directed by Anamika Haksar in, I think, in 1993. The first ever documentation of dramatic performance act of 1876 was Raj Darpan in a way. And it was scripted by Sumanto Banerjee with contributions from Rati Bartholomew, Anamika Haksar, and NSG batch. We were studying there in 1994. This was done with us. So it was basically, it started from an article by Sumanta Banerjee, and which he had written on neo-colonialism. And from there it started the whole process. There was no narrative, there was no script. And then from there, so it was done in 1992 as one of the class productions for us. And then it had its own life, because from class production, because of the way how the production worked and people questioned, it went into and generated a lot of discussions and thoughts in the audience. It went into a repertory of the National School of Drama, and it had its own life. It toured around India and things like that. But this all started when we were students and we were part of it. So probably what was happening in that production was, on the stage, rehearsal was happening in front of the audience, the trial, the legal proceedings, everything was happening in front of the audience. We had collected a whole series of letters, some of which we presented in letter form or snippets of Raj Nostalgia. So we have three intervening themes: the legal proceedings, Raj Nostalgia, and the band plays and songs. And we end with the prevalent market culture acts, the MTV, satellite channels, and soap operas. So through this work, we asked what is colonialism? This is what Anamika ji wanted to ask. How does it affect us in our daily existence? But together, the whole process-wise, it was more of completely of a devising, and we all got updated. We had gone through a lot of reading, research, and then all of us had different questions. And that's how we started developing the process. So what are power structures? What does the legal system do? What are the strategies of war? How does the media reflect the splint of colonialized mind? We spoke and evolved exercises questioning ourselves and our contradictions and what English speaking does to us. So this is what it is about neo-colonialism, because if you remember, that was the time, 1991, 92, 93, 94, India was going through liberalization, and neo-colonialism was very much rampant in a way there, and we were already coming out of the colonial hangover. So all these were the questioning which were happening. So I'll just show you now Raj Darpan, and give me a few seconds. Okay, so this is a scene of how proscenium came into Indian theatre, how they were performing, the artists, and you can see how slowly the proscenium takes over when the English came and slowly started invading the cultural space, particularly the theatre space. So how a kind of a traditional group who was performing and who was rehearsing, actually not performing, rehearsing, and how this whole thing comes up, and how this whole proscenium slowly gets, it's like how the wings comes as slicing into slowly, and slowly these things are getting made. You can see so it's about how so you can see how the performers were performing and how openly they were performing. Slowly how the proscenium comes in and how then the English culture also comes in. But see, the whole thing is on a kind of a metaphorical way, because Indian actors trying to caricature also the English. It's also like trying to comment what was happening there. And how these actors only come and bring in things so that it becomes alien to them, but they are bringing it into the wheelchairs, slowly how the platform comes in, the steps comes in, and how the music changes. So that's one of the scenes which I wanted to share with you in terms of, now I'll just put stop share. Yeah. Okay. Now I will go into the next aspect of the other aspect of text is multilingual theatre text. This dismantle the unity. Just I think, just a minute, I'll just stop, something is running behind. Okay, multilingual theatre texts dismantle the unity of national languages. This is something which is also about, because we know that even in National School of Drama, we push language as the national language, as Hindi, and we are all supposed to perform and direct and act and teach acting in Hindi. Now, it's a kind of a push from, and it's a kind of a push from the nation-making exercise, also to bring people together, to communicate in one single language, so that we can better communicate. Now, this is highly questioned in post-traumatic, because we all have mother tongues. And now mother tongues are also questioned in post-traumatic. Like I belong to Kerala. As Chandradasanji introduced me, I am from Trivandrum, and I always get introduced as from Trivandrum because in my passport, and somehow my parents took this, in official documents, they showed me from Trivandrum. But I was born in Rajasthan, and I was born and brought up in Rajasthan, Bihar, Assam, because my parents were in transferable job in Government of India. Now my language becomes quite complicated in that sense. In home, I used to speak Malayalam, but once when I'm out of home, I have all different regional languages and different kinds of Hindi, the Bihari Hindi to Assamese Hindi to the Rajasthani Hindi, even though I could hear Marwadi. So your language, even though the mother tongue is being said as Malayalam, but still my mother tongue is a mixture of many things. And I would say it's a mixture, it's a synthesis, and it's a hybrid. These are three different words, I know, and they have three different potential meanings with a lot of baggages. But I would say language is that complex. And even mother tongue becomes quite complex. We can't attach it simply with a region, saying that this is the mother tongue there. So mother tongue also becomes complex. And these are things which have been asked. So now I would like to take you, and also what happens is, we are given a kind of a script, like say any well-made play or renowned playwrights play, they have a language. And now what the whole actor training onwards, everything is to how to make that word as your word, even though it just doesn't, the word doesn't belong to you, the word belongs to a playwright, and the word becomes then your word. And then you have to, for that there are a lot of systems, methodologies, and vocal trainings, and making dictions, accents, trainings, all those things, so that it becomes yours. Now this has been highly questioned in post-traumatic. Why are all these needed? These are the raptures. Why are we always getting into this world of construction of the fictitious world? Why do we need that? Don't we have narratives by ourselves? Don't we have languages by ourselves? So don't ourself is not layered enough to have many narratives? But that doesn't mean that the other is not there. The other has to be looked into. So probably so to show this kind of complexity and to explore this kind of complexity, I would like you to take you all into one of the productions, Memories of a Legend, which was done in I think it was done in somewhere in 2003-04, and I'll just read a little bit of Memories of Legend, and then I'll speak about it. It was a South Asian collaborative project directed by 5 directors jointly and initiated by Japan Foundation, Tokyo in 2003 and 4. The actors, designers, and directors were from different countries of South Asia. Memories of a Legend was made into a theater form, which is taken from the book Baba Nama. The language of performance was multilingual, different languages from South Asia and Japan. The script was jointly developed by the 5 directors. The 5 directors were Anu Baral, Nepal; Azad Abul Kalam, Bangladesh; Ibrahim Qurashi, Pakistan; Ruwanti D. Shikera, Sri Lanka; and myself from India. So we collaborated. And the actors were from different regions of these 5 countries. Now I'll just run the video, and with that you can see the video, and with that I will be also telling you what we were trying through it, so that you can see different languages spoken and how the languages and also the visual language, how we could develop it. Okay. He's one of the actors singing in it. And now, the basic space of the performance was a big black box where audience were distributed in 3 groups and were placed in different parts of the studio. Multimedia was very much part of the whole performance, which created an interesting synthesis between the archaic and contemporary characteristic of the theme. There were actions which had happened behind the audience and were simultaneously captured by the camera and live telecast through video screen in front of the audience. The visual language of the play was physical in nature with a lot of video and sound intervening and interlining the performance. The actual space of performance was more like different paths between the groups of audience, which was to depict this continuous journey of Babur to different countries.
Or terror-inspiring warlord. The answer is to be found
These
in
paths
the
were formed without
it
any
could
geometric
be said that the struggle taking place
or symmetric patterns,
within
creating an
Islam
opposite effect to the perfect symmetry of the Mughal paintings and designs which were projected.
of the history of Islam from its beginning to
It
the
seemed
present
as
day.
if symmetry was created and systematically broken, and every time it is recreated as an
That
imperial
same
project and
contradictory
subverted of an
doubleness which modern
anti-imperialist
commentators
subversion.
have found
It was a
so hard to
metaphorical idea and
understand
required a constant
was in the
repetitive
case of
cycle throughout the
Babur,
performance
an
and became
internal
its dominant
conflict.
scenographic
The
element.
first Mughal emperor of India was also an exile and a homesick man.
So you can see so this actress was from Pakistan and she's talking in Urdu. And there was a barber. There were 2 barbers, and this actor was Nepal, who was the barber of that time, and we had a barber of modern time, whom we conceived as a person who is a hacker, a professional hacker. So the language, the verbal language, it was in all different languages, and definitely the audience had difficulty to understand the verbal language. There were languages from Bengali to Sinhala, so all different languages. How much actors had difficulty, that much audience also had difficulty. But then there were many other things to sense how the words were created, what were the kind of language. There was also English,
it is fifth climate,
which also used to come in
latitude,
as the modern barber speak.
and longitude 90 degree. The name of the city is Samarkand. People used to call it country Mawara ur Nahar. They would make Samarkand his capital.
हामी सबभन्दा लुट्नको लागि आएका होइन तर जे पाउनको लागि हामीले यतिका सिपाहीहरू गुमायौं पुस्तक पाठशाला मस्जिद अब्जेबाजेरी आम जनता आक्रमण हत्या लुटपाट व्यक्तिगतता सरलता तरलता कविता कठोरता विध्वंसता निष्ठुरता सत्यता 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 छल 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 सत्यता छल
This is the kind of a war sequence. Okay, I'll stop it here. So that was, now I will go back to another aspect of post-dramatic theater, which is voice, speech, and sound. So I was trying to show the text and the language, how it can be, and all those difficulties which we try to cover up in theater or in the regular theater in terms of making meaning or limiting into one language is something which is being opened and questioned again and again, because as we have that difficulty, then why should we try to limit it with a meaning or with a particular language? And now I'll come back to voice, speech, and sound. How voice, speech, and sound in post-dramatic also works. So probably text, voice, and noise merge in the idea of in a way, soundscape, but of course in a different sense than in the classical stage realism. Because here in the post-dramatic, the imaginary seeing in the radio playing, the imaginary hearing in the silent film is the kind of a boundless space opens up. That's the way how post-dramatic theater would love to see it, probably. What we are talking about here is that the space of the stage and more comprehensive sound space together create a third space that comprises the kind of scene and the theater. So probably it's like we are not making this text or voice, speech, and sound together. We are actually treating them as three different elements. We will look into the voice aspect of the individual, the speech by itself, and sound by itself, and then bringing the noise also, which is always there, and not to again bring it together, but to look it from with its differences and keep the differences there, and then have a dialogue between these differences about this. Hence, playing with the new media technologies, which comes into this, that decompose the presence of the actor, and especially her corporal and vocal unity. When sound and voice are separated and organized according to their own logic, when the body space, the scenic space, and the space of the spectator are divided, redistributed, and newly united by sound and voice, word and noise. So it's again reunited, but in a different sense, with different individualities coming from all these different four aspects, which is sound, voice, word, and noise. So it is not bringing it together. So probably this is one of the major aspects of how to treat voice, word, and noise. But in post-dramatic theater, however, the electronic and corporal sensory disposition newly discovers the voice, which happens always. As microphone comes in, our voice gets amplified, but our voice also gets another identity, as it makes the presence of the voice the basis of an auditive semiotics. It separates it from meaning, conceiving of the sign making as a gesticulation of the voice and listening to the echoes in the dungeons of the literary palaces. So probably it is about how we look into voices, how we listen, and what happens when technology comes into it. So probably I would, because there is always this human aspect to technology. There is always this human aspect, and then technology comes in, and then again human aspect comes in. So probably technology and human goes together, for which I will go a little bit more detail when body comes in. We can see that how much technology has entered into our body, even though the human body is an inspiration for almost all technologies. But then we can also see how it has the other way worked, which when I'll come into body, I'll explain that as one of the basic aspects. But now I would like to show this whole, how this whole scenario of different aspects of sound, voice, and a kind of a traditional singing. Everything comes together with a video, which is Manganya Seduction by Royston Abel. How this whole soundscape works, And for that, I will also try to just, because I will just try to elaborate a little bit of Roy's context, so that then you can understand how this whole sound and voice and noise and space works together. Roy's sleep, this is Mangania selection by Royston Abel. Roy's sleep in the night and getting up in the morning, listening to the Mangania songs in one of his international tours of a production when there were 2 Mangania singers in the performance. According to him, he was seduced to sleep, due to which seduction became a material for making this performance. Then he brought the red light street of Amsterdam, the red cabins and seduction of body, and he got this design in a miniature form for seduction of the soul. So this seduction of the soul is quite interesting, because we know that our souls are all in a web now. The websites, web, the net, the internet's net, because we all are somehow, we are all interwoven souls through internet, through the cyber culture. And that's where he's trying to put the seduction of the soul, because we are all deeply connected with our WhatsApp, to Facebook, to all the social medias, everything. So the way how I would like to put this into post-dramatic Mangania seduction is like one has to look into it in a context which this is my way of looking into it, the constellation of elements that decides whether a stylistic moment is to be read in the context of a dramatic or a post-dramatic aesthetics. Reintroduction of the sensuous and the visual. This is very important in this work, in Roy's work. The sensuous as an interest that goes back to the materiality of theater from ancient times, whether Sanskrit or Greek or traditional theaters across the world. That's where I would like to bring this into post-dramatic Mangania seduction of Royston Abel. I'll just share that video with all of you. Every singer is being microphone. That's a very complex way how the sound is being managed. Okay. Okay. So that was, I was trying to, now I'll come back to space, which is another basic aspect of post-traumatic. In space, I'll make it a little bit shorter because the time is running. Centripetal space, there is also, because centripetal space, usually what we happen is in a regular theater, we try to avoid too close audience and actor. But in a post-traumatic space, probably breath, sweat, panting, movement of the musculature, cramp, gaze, everything comes together. It could be very close. It could be like, we can sweat, we can smell our sweat, we can smell the performer's sweat. This becomes a kind of, so centripetal space is like within us, or the body itself becomes a centripetal space in post-traumatic. And centrifugal, in a regular theater, we always avoid huge, big space, like because there could be many activities happening. We know that street theater happens in street, but again, it functions as a centripetal because we call in people and then everybody concentrates, and from the center, the energy flows and the communication starts happening. But that's not the way, the only way for post-traumatic. In post-traumatic, the activation of public spaces happen. There could be visitors becomes more or less active, more or less voluntary co-actors. Like malls, bazaars, metro, railway stations, all these places, post-traumatic theater can happen, and it's been happening. As I told you, Ramani Protocol did in malls where everybody was shopping, and we also went to see the performance, and we eventually found out that we were performing, and there was a lot of window shopping which we did through an activity which Ramani Protocol made us do in Saket Mall in Delhi. So probably in bazaars, metro. So there are different ways of looking at post-traumatic space in terms of performance. And then another very special spaces which post-traumatic has developed or has come into post-traumatic is site-specific theater. I think Deepan Shivaraman is already here in this, and he will be able to speak it very nicely about all these things because the whole scenography he does. So the kind of site-specific like factory floor, electric power station, junkyard. So this kind of, because they bring in, what happens is this space has a history, has a narrative, has some kind of memories. So one doesn't try to whitewash it, make it new for a performance. We keep all those things. We see space as a kind of a material, like how text is being seen, how voice is being seen, how noise is being seen, like that space is also being seen. So there is nothing going to change in it. As such, however, it could be an old monument. And there you go. And then we start having dialogues. The other bunch of artists will come and have dialogues with it. That's how the space gets more and more, and there could be promenade in a way how one space to another space it travels, and audience doesn't have to, or spectators doesn't have to be in a space to look at everything, which we have it in our traditional theaters also, but it is being looked from a different perspective particularly after 1950s. So in this context, I'll show you another video which is 409 Ramkinkers. And I'll just read about Ramkinkers, a little bit of a note. 409 Ramkinkers, Sculpture and Installation and Theatre. Ramkinker was born on 25th May 1906 in West Bengal into a family of a little economic and social standing, and grew by the sheer dint of talent and determination into one of the most distinguished early modernists in Indian art. So I'll just show you, because I have a kind of a PowerPoint presentation. So let me just see if it opens fast. Then meanwhile it opens, I'll also read about who are the artists who are there already in it. So about the performance, it was a collaborative project between Vivan Sundaram. As you know, he's a very renowned visual art and one of the most leading artists in India. And Radha Kapoor, Aditi Bishwas, Deepan Shivaraman, and Shantanu Bose. So they were all from different disciplines coming together to make something like this. Now I'll just share the video. Okay, so in 409 Ramkinker, there is in fact a little attempt to reproduce what actually happened. Rather, the performance seeks to dynamize a space where ideas, material, pedagogy, and life intermix. Material, text, and body attempt to generate and animate a sense of Ramkinker-based art practice, one that ranged across sculpture, painting, scenography, and theater. So you can see how theater actors are there and how it becomes part of the sculpture. Also, it becomes part of the architecture. Events, beliefs, politics, and affiliations are not duplicated. They are instead put into a type of dialogue with the contemporary and for the contemporary. So you can see how interaction with sculptures are happening. You can see how the spectators are watching, how the whole space changes, and how spectators travel from one space to another space. This is the kind of also theater performance which happens in between. So there it is. So now I'll go to the next one, that is body in post-dramatic theater. Now body, as I told you before, I'll come into, see, in modernism we know that sexuality, pain and disease, physical difference, youth, old age, skin color became presentable themes for the first time. And also in modernism, the marriage of man and machine also happened. So probably I think, and we know that we are all wired up. Informations are wired up. The body breeds new phantoms, because we know that there are many things. We don't know how many of our audience have studs in their heart when they are watching a show, because there are many other man-made things or materials which has already been there in our body. The same way how, because in a very simplified way, if we say that the extension of ears are mobile phone and the extension of voice is microphone. Similarly, if you'll see, the body has taken a lot of technology into the body. So probably this both way we look into it. So what are humans? So probably I would, here I would like to say a director from the West, Romeo, Castellucci, they often integrate people with an abnormal physicality or physicality modified by disease. Everybody has its own tale, because it's like everybody has a tale, everybody has a story, everybody has a history, everybody has its own culture, everybody has its own evolving. So that has to be seen, and that has to be brought in. It's not about catching a character and changing your body, losing your weight to catch a character, to prepare for a character. It's not about that. It's about this. It's about what your body has. How can we bring that into dialogue? So that's what. So it's like the dramatic process occurred between the bodies in a regular drama. The whole process of drama becomes between 2 actors or 5 actors. But here in post-dramatic, it is within the body, on the body, or to the body. That is what it is happens. So that is the kind of difference between. So probably we are talking about decomposition of the human being, because what today our body is about decomposition also in a way, because there are so many other things which has also entered into our body. So that's something which we shouldn't avoid. We shouldn't try to bring, not to have a kind of a makeup, which is about, once again, preparing for a kind of an visual world or an illusion. Probably that is what. So what we are looking is, because today this is the time when pandemic is there, and so this metaphor, probably the metaphor of the world as a hospital, is what in a way post-traumatic looks at the body in a way, because body is also mediatized completely. We move in front of the screens, we move in front of digital boards, we are projected at the same time when we are moving. We don't know when the camera is on and camera is off. Now I am in front of a camera, believing that you all are there. So probably this is what happens, and there is a body in it. So I will show you here a small clipping from Maya Krishna Rao's Head Are Meant for Walking Into, Maya Krishna Rao's. So I'll just put on the video, because as you will be all knowing Maya Krishna Rao. Okay. So you can see the video, and I'll just, it's one of her works, because she works a lot with media and collaborations. So this is a kind of a cross-media theater production in which the director-performer explores the life around her using a camera handled by a filmmaker. As a director or theater maker would use actors from a woman's perspective. Theater, music and video fuse in this work to create a multimedia show about our times. Closed circuit cameras that project images of multiple surfaces combined with an exciting use of objects, action and sound. You can see this extreme close-up of her fingers, which is in a theater on a theater stage. But how media actually dislocates the body.
When I look from my window, do I know what I see? I think I see.
You can see the shadow and her body more into a projected image.
I try to look, but do I find? Do I
Sometimes
know
you only see the shadow
what I
and not the
find?
body. With the shadow, one is communicating and one is trying to make a dialogue.
Will I?
Okay.
Winter.
Okay. Now I will take you to media, which is another aspect of post-dramatic. In media, what happens is, in a way, when we talk about media, because some of us have been working a lot with media also right from the beginning when we came into theater. So always there is this question in media that when we take media, isn't it costly? Isn't it something which every person can afford? Now let me be, when we started, definitely it was quite costly. But today, if you have a lantern, may be more costly than a mobile phone. A projector lamp may be costly more than a mobile phone. And a smart mobile phone or a mobile phone can do a media intervention into a performance making. Now, why do we have to intervene with mobile phones? I think mobile phones are some of the biggest political weapons today, which not only, I mean, some of the best post-dramatic performers perform, the politicians and the political rallies, which are like perfect stages today. So, but they use mobile phones. And I think mobile phones are could be one of the major game changer also for politics. And probably in theater, I believe that we shouldn't avoid mobile phones, rather we should make mobile phones useful. And how to bring mobile phones, how to develop activities with mobile phones, if it is there. That's what it's my belief, but it can be completely, it can be. So, so that if there is a money to purchase mobile, then there is money to do a kind of a multimedia production or a multimedia performance. Now, another question which usually comes with media is that why is it that the image that fascinates us more? Or why is it that there is this whole insecurity, the actor will die, the projection screen will be projection screen, or the projected image will take away the concentration, the live actor will be dead. All these things comes into. Probably, I think it is true. It happens sometimes. And I think one possible answer is that the image is removed from real life. There is something liberating about the appearance of image, which gives pleasure to the gaze. And that's there. And why I would say is that we have traditional, very traditional, but very rich acting methodologies where I am 5'4" or 5'6". I stand on a stage, I'll be 5'6" only, my height. And but if I'll act or I'll use a methodology where slowly in the audience mind or in the audience senses, I can become very big. That's through sheer acting. But as soon as media comes in, if I am projected, if I am standing there as a man of 5'4", and my projection is being projected as 20 feet high, then definitely 20 feet high will take away. Sometimes even smaller to my projection can also take concentration because this whole thing of image has that freedom, and that freedom is something which always kinds of makes it not only insecure but also shaky for the regular theater. But I think that's something, an argument which can be argumented, but already in life it is happening. So we should get in dialogue. We are crossing a road, a simple traffic. We have huge placards, electronic nowadays, and we have huge electronic billboards which keeps changing images, and we are just, so why are we running away from it? We have to make dialogues with it, and we have to have a continuous conversation with it. So that's something which post-dramatic makes it sure with media. And in post-dramatic theater, it is articulated not through a plot, but through the appearance of the body. So the body, when it appears, it needs sometimes media, it needs sometimes just no media, but fate here speaks through the gesture, not through myth. I mean, fate is something which comes from Aristotelian theater, which had myth. And here, the fate speaks through the gestures, because what we show, that's what, like how you must have seen Mayaji's fingers used, how the small things can make gestures and can change the understanding and the feeling in us. So probably that's what is that's what is important in post-dramatic, and not the myths or the narratives which are there. So here I would like to show you another small video, which is Midnight Children, so that you can. This is by. I'll show you, and simultaneously I'll also tell you Midnight Children. About Midnight Children, which we had used a lot of different kinds of projections. Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie. It was directed by myself, and this production was evolved from the acting classes of National School of Drama. Languages of performance was Hindi and different dialects of Indian languages, because all acting students and the whole batch of students, with direction students and design students, they were all coming from different states. And so their dialects were used into Hindi, and sometimes different languages. Their languages were also brought into. The most startling aspect of the novel's narrative is its use of magic realism in its most appealing way. So probably magic realism is another jump from realism in the novel writing. And here in post-dramatic also, we are also trying to, its magic realism is also a kind of a rapture from the long history of narrative. So that's, and the rapture of post-dramatic is what we are talking right now here. So that's why it also comes together, the magic realism. I'll just play the video and then I'll explain more further. So, play to be transported within a National School of Drama space itself was history coming full circle. If National School of Drama starts by taking into account the Indian project, after independence, then we, through our own story, have to critique our own institutional history, where we challenging it and our own past of the grand narrative of spectacular vision with which energy started its journey, or were we claiming our place as its successor? Moreover, how much liberty would a state institution allow in terms of its own critic? Or were we trying to use the seemingly formalism of scenographic decision to escape a reading as a criticism instead of neologization as everyone expected? This ultimately raises the question of efficacy. Could a self-critic to a visual narrative even be noted and commented upon? So these are Midnight Children. So they are in the complete audience space of a proscenium space. The whole thing is constructed indoors. That actual cooking, actual elements are coming from the gas, from actors. I'll just forward it because we are running out of time. So I will just, you can see how in the audience they are playing the sequences in the auditorium itself. You can see how the narrative is running, how the history is running of India. So this is all, and the actors are from National School of Drama, which itself is a nation-making exercise. So this whole book is about the nation-making exercise and what went right and what went wrong in this whole nation-making exercise in which we all are part of it. This is one of the characters. Runs with one of those symbols which are all used. So it's a narrative which also runs. So there are many narratives which runs together in this. So there are narratives which are running the projections, that are run by properties. There are narratives which are run by actors. There are by the visualization of actors. There are narratives which are run by dialogues. So they are all different narratives coming together on a stage. And as we told about the language. So I'll stop it here. And now I'm going for my last aspect of post-dramatic theater, which is time. Time, while the text gives the reader the choice to read faster. Hope you are able to hear. Now the last one which I'm going into is time. Time is in a way the text give reader the choice to read faster or slower, to repeat or to pause in theater the specific time of the performance. So probably tempo of action, speech, duration, pauses and silences. These are all in our regular theater, which is wonderful. But at the same time, why are we always asking time to be limited? Who decides a 20-year story into 3 hours or 1 hour or 2 hours? Why is it we are limiting time? Why is it that time is not being given the space? Why is that time is not being, which in our traditional forms, we have time. Time has been given its time because we know that Mahabharata or Ramayana, there are many traditional forms which performs nights and nights, and they get into the details of it. Why not in modernism, particularly in the kind of realistic, why are we limiting time? And why are we always saying that, oh, was it 3 hours? I just felt as if it was half an hour play. It was so moving. It was so touching. Why is it we are all trying to cover up time? I think this is something which deeply post-dramatic questions. And because that's the way how the whole vocabulary of regular theater develops. And but at the durational aesthetics comes into post-dramatic, because durational aesthetics is the actual duration. And so what is durational aesthetics? Durational aesthetics is like you are made to aware about the time, that this is the time. You are spending 3 hours, my dear, we are spending 3 hours. So there may be repetitive action, there may be boring time. Let it be, these are all part of the life of the universe in which we are living. So there may be repetitive, so a kind of aesthetics of repetition which comes into. So time is being also mediatized. There are different kinds of time which now you must have seen in Midnight Children, a time which has been shown of Nehru and Gandhi and all those, which runs very faster. The old time runs quite faster than the real time which has been running on stage. And internet time. Internet time means time we are all in. Because now I think if people are from different countries, there will be somewhere evening, there will be somewhere morning, and we all come together. And those time are coming together and having dialogues, having that evening, having that morning registered, and then getting into the dialogue. So probably, and time doesn't, why should we limit? If it is 10 days or 14 days, let us go for it. Let us try to make it happen. So that's how I think my last work, which I would like to share with all of you, is Glass House Project. I'll just read about this. This is about, here I would like to show one of my collaborative conceptual work known as Glass House Project 2008, along with Harish Khanna. Harish Khanna, the actor, lived in an installed glass house in the mid-lawns of the festival venue for 15 days to explore the subject of actor training for last 50 years in a national institution like National School of Drama. The performance was his regular living in the transparent home with a living room, dining room, kitchen, and a washroom. The performance was on for 24 hours, continuous for nearly 2 weeks. So it was like beginning of the BRM till the end of BRM, but not the end, a day before and a day after it started. So what we were trying, ambiguity, celebrating art as fiction, celebrating theater as process, discontinuity, heterogeneity, non-textuality, pluralism, multiple codes, subversion, all different kinds of sides. You can see that, performer as theme and protagonist, deformation, text as basis of basic, like as basic material only. It is not that it is one of the primary material. Deconstruction, and we thought of in between developing a play after 50 years, what is going through, because basically National School of Drama was conceived to develop actors, to bring performers, to go back into their regions and work. So we thought, what should we write a play on this? Harish and myself, we were thinking, or should we make something where we can give this message, what NSG has done? Then in the end, we thought, no, nothing of all those is going to work. So considering text to be authoritarian and archaic was not somewhere working. Performance as a third term between drama and theater. We were also anti-mimetic, resisting interpretation. We were resisting interpretation. That's why we made sure, Harish always made sure that he's not going to perform his Glasshouse project. He's just going to live his life for 15 days. So it's kind of post-dramatic in instead of dominated by mediation, gesticularity, rhythm, tone, probably sometimes grotesque forms. Sometimes it's completely empty and silence plays a major role. You can look into it. I am showing the NDTV coverage of Glasshouse because the last day when he came out, because most of the media was covering this project at that time, because it was rare in this country. So they were covering, every day they used to come and cover what is happening. And there were filmmakers who was also covering this project. So I thought I'm just showing you NDTV's last day when he came out, a small interview.
So much for joining us. Well, the 10th Bharat Rang Mahotsav, the National School of Drama, introduced a form, in fact, of theatre never seen before. A form of theatre where there was no performance, no stage, but an actor living out his life like every normal person, except that in this case, Harsh Khanna was being watched for 15 days in a glass house.
Somebody walked to freedom when the rest of Delhi was asleep, except for NSD. But then 15 minutes before the clock struck 12, Harish Khanna is out. How has the experience been?
It's great. It's a bit challenging as an actor for me also, like you're living at the same time. You know that you don't have to perform and you don't have to interact with the public.
Did you have to put in a lot of work wherein you rehearsed for a couple of days and then kept extending it to see if you could last 15 days inside without interacting with people?
If you ask me for the preparation side, I think my only prior preparation was to making a glass house itself, to construct a glass house. Kind of that.
All your gadgets were in place. You had your laptop, webcam, your phone, but I think missing person contact.
Yeah, human contact I was missing, that's true, and now I'm with them.
And what have you learned in the 15 days?
I don't know, I've written so many things which I have never written in my life, and I think I need to gather all these things with me.
What form of theatre would you put it?
You can say, means your person is living in the situation with household equipment, you can call it a reality.
Did you feel weak? Did you feel that, yes, I want to be out?
There were moments like after 10 days. After 10 days, there was a moment where I felt little shaky.
I think it's a great experiment which has worked on a personal level, and I guess for all the people who saw it, must have been challenging to see an actor out there wondering whether they were acting themselves. This is Umi Kulsum at NSD campus for NDTV.
Okay, so that was the last video. Now I'll try to conclude. So the experience of World War II, the Holocaust and Hiroshima, however, have fundamentally shaken the belief in this historical model of the regular theatre, which explains why post-war practitioners such as Samuel Beckett, Tadeusz Kantor, and Heiner Müller and others eschewed the dramatic form in the wake of these events. So that is one of the reasons why all this post-dramatic or the rapture started. The post-dramatic theatre here, world does not mean the walled off. I mean, in post-dramatic theater, the fourth wall doesn't exist. A fictional totality doesn't exist, but a world open to its audience, an essentially possible world pregnant with potentiality. The audience itself could be the performance, or audience is part of the performance, or audience have to be part of it to complete the performance. So that's another one of the basic things of post-dramatic. Then it does not add to an Aristotelian dramatic fictional whole, but whole means W-H-O-L-E, Aristotelian whole, W-H-O-L-E. Instead is full of holes, H-O-L-E-S. The onus is on the spectator witness to help repair, perhaps by piecing together information seen over the 2 nights or probably 15 nights, or to help bear the trauma of living in a damaged world. Like National School of Drama was created for this, but how many actors are really in work? How many actors are there? How many of them are able to act? Or in theater, how many of them are able to work? So it was a kind of a protest also, but it was also a kind of a question. It was also about audience to think, to participate. And after this Glasshouse, when Harish Khanna came in, that Glasshouse was there and actors were booked. They booked Glasshouse project and they started living in it for 1 day, 2 days, completely inside, publicly. That's how then the Glasshouse project went for some days more. And in the last, I would say, the post-dramatic theater serve as theater's response to changed social communication under the conditions of generalized information technologies. So this is where it is. Thank you so much, all of you. I think it was what I tried a little bit about post-dramatic from an Indian context point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhilash. It was wonderful, very systematic, well-studied, very informative, very educative kind of interaction, lecture which you gave. I could understand that you were running out of time, and we should have taken much more time, maybe more sessions to elaborate. You are not even taking a moment to breathe, so you're continuously speaking and rushing. Okay, we could see that, but still you have made it very systematically, very clearly, and all those things. And there's a lot of people hearing it, and I don't take much time right now. We have another 30 minutes to put up our viewpoints, questions, all those things. We are very important people hearing you, including Bose Krishnamacharya. I think he's still there, and Deepa and many people. I'm not naming them. So please come forward and ask your questions directly. Many people write words of appreciation in the chat box, like refreshing, educative, meaningful, fascinating, in all those things. Please come up and speak and take this session ahead. We have another 30 minutes to go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shireen Saif wants to ask something. Shireen, come on. Shireen Saif. Just say just say your name and one word about you, and then speak, because we want to transcribe these questions and answers also. So whoever comes, please tell your name and then speak.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Hi, I'm Shireen.
Yes.
I'm an artist based in Dubai.
Yes, Shireen.
Hi, Abhilash. Thank you so much. That was an extremely structured presentation, and you've also picked on some examples, thankfully from the Indian practice, and shared it with us rather than showing us what the West has been doing. So thank you very, very much for preparing this for us. I just wanted to sort of, I just wanted your thoughts on something. Essentially what I've taken away from this is that post-dramatic theater is something that is a departure from drama almost. You haven't called it post-modern theater. You've called it post-dramatic theater. So that is a departure from drama in the sense that this is more about collaboration, about challenging norms of audience, text, and space, and it's devised and it's multidisciplinary, blurring the borders. So this is kind of what my takeaway from your a definition of what you call post-dramatic and not postmodern. My question to you is, what is it for the audience in terms of an aesthetic relish for the audience? Do you see this as a departure almost from emotional to intellectual? So basically you talked about how they are supposed to fill in the gaps or the holes, about how this is almost a departure from feeling to thinking. So getting them to move from the heart to the mind. So what is it for the audience in terms of aesthetic relish? Do you see this? How do you perceive this? Is my question.
Okay, let me try. I'll try to answer it. See, I never wanted to get into postmodern because postmodern has its own history and it's quite complex. That's why, because the time limit is also there. So I thought I'll just stick with post-dramatic, even though it's postmodern, which is with where the post-dramatic also comes into dialogue. But I thought of keeping it away in this talk. And as far as what the audience will take, I would put it, see, aesthetics is something which I would say a relational aesthetics is something which will be much more better to say, because what we saw in the Glasshouse project was something, it had all different kinds of views. We had kept a kind of an diary there who people can sit and see, and there were garden chairs and everything which was put there. It is in the mid-lawns of National School of Drama. So there were all different kinds of reactions which were coming, and there were some people who said, what is this happening? Why are you wasting so much of money? Why don't you make a production out of it? What are you going to achieve? Something like this. There were all different kinds of responses. But there were responses also of, so there are different kinds of emotions which are happening aesthetically. Why I use this kind of relational aesthetics is that there were a lot of discussions happening. There were a lot of sitting together, looking in the evening time when people used to come for different kinds of shows, as you know, in BRM, as the mid-lawns it is, and around 3 to 4 theaters are in the campus only at that time. This was 2008, I think. So there were like Chaumok, Sanmok, Abhimanch, and there was one more theater, so everybody used to come in energy. So they were, and the shows used to begin, and this actor is just living in a completely, I mean, in a room, in a glass house. So this whole thing of how they discuss, how they look at each other, how dogs look at the glass house in the night, and how. So this whole of how you look at yourself and how you look at with somebody who is watching like that, and some people who sit there for hours, 3, 4, 5 hours, they would see everything of him taking bath, to going to cooking, and then coming and reading or watching which channel. They would change their space and see. So probably there's an interest. There's also sometimes an emotional journey happening, or why a person should give this much. And probably they would discuss with other person with whom they are watching. So this whole relational aesthetics also works. And I think aesthetics will be relational more in terms like this. It is not about you becoming individual. Yes, when we take aesthetics, we become individual. Like in a proscenium theater, when we are in dark, when we sit and when we see this lighted stage. Sometimes we clap by ourselves. Sometimes we clap with the theater, even though we are not together. We may not feel like clapping, but we just clap it. And comedy always makes all of us to laugh together. But tragedy is sometimes very secretive. I mean, a drop of, eye drop can be. So the aesthetics is something which is relational, but it is much more relational here, and it is much more connected to each other. And that's where I think it becomes much more like looking into yourself. That's how the aesthetics may work here. I hope I'm able to.
So Abhilash, to paraphrase what you were saying, are you saying that this you have the freedom to feel whatever you want to feel, rather than the onus is not on the play or the actor or the space telling you how you have to feel. It's almost you're on cue, whereas in post-dramatic, it's you have the freedom to feel whatever you want to feel via this relational aesthetics. Is that right? Am I understanding you right?
It is about whatever you feel, but it is not entirely about what about you feel, because the way the space is being kept, the way you come, that's why I was trying to use Glasshouse Project, because as an example, it's a theater space. All theaters are around. It's about Bharat Rang Mahotsav. It's about a festival, a major festival of India. So you're already in a kind of a theater space. So your relational aesthetics, then you start thinking about theater. You start thinking about what is this happening? This is about theater. So probably that's what the questioning was about 50 years of National School of Drama. So probably it is not about thinking anything. It's already into that space will drive you into. It's not like we into somewhere else in Connaught Place or in somewhere in a it's not that. It's about how you bring in. So you are somewhere into the space itself in terms of your thinking also. It's not, but in that you have enough freedom to go. It's not like representational that you feel about being together and being emotionally a journey is being taken into. I don't think so. It's that kind of a representational viewing of a narrative and then looking into the aesthetics or feeling of the aesthetics.
I just feel that it's not you cannot just limit it to the emotion or the intellect. It's more of the human experience. It's about experiencing. It's an alternate kind of aesthetics which puts you in a kind of experiencing of the context, and of course it is guided by your understanding, your positions about art, life, culture, your knowledge, your awareness, your sensibility. All those things are there. So we cannot have a very unilateral definition like we have poetics to or Natyashastra or the Rasa theory to assess a work of art, a work of theater. It's not just that freedom to interpret anything also, like abstract art gives you. You can interpret, you decide, you understand, you read. As Abhilash said, it's the context and the atmosphere which puts you in a kind of experience which may be differing in scale from person to person. It's an experiential thing that's what I just think. I don't know whether Abhilash agrees to that.
Yes, very much. That's what, because it is, because if it's Glasshouse Project, because I'm talking about the last one because we showed that video, it was also 50 years of National School of Drama. That was a special year. And that was a special Bharat Rang Mahotsav also. So everything was in place, in discussion, and then you have a project which has been placed there. Even though it has been seen as a project which never worked. Which is okay.
And the context also decides it. Suppose the Bharat Rang Mahotsav takes place, I don't know whether it will take place next year, and you do the same project there, it's about quarantine and it's about the time we are going through. So it's a totally different experience, totally different valuation. Maybe people will be starting emotionally attached to this work than they did at that time. So it's a time and space that also decides the meaning of the work.
Yes, very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you both actually for taking this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharvin.
So, others please. Bose, would you like to come in and say something? Bose Krishnamachari, one of our leading artists of the country and the brain behind the Cochin Biennale, is there with us.
Hi, Abhilash ji.
Namaste.
Namaste. It is fantastic to listen about contemporary theatre and, drama, theatre and contemporaneity. I have a small, like maybe when I was thinking about the last project, which is you're talking about time and this glass house. I felt that you are it's almost like a big boss You're participating in Big Boss.
Yes.
And also I gone into this fantastic film made by 100 years of film clips, a montage made in 2011. There was an exhibition, 24 hours of exhibition, 24 hours. It is called The Clock. It was shown in Venice Biennale. And you can see that I've forgotten his name. I think I'll just.
Boss, you are muted. Boss, your sound got muted.
Sorry. So this 24 hours montage and this Big Boss and plus this, I was just juxtaposing and looking at the meaning of it, like continuous living itself become a theater, living itself become life itself become art kind of thing. But it's for the public. There is a performer and the public. And I like the idea of collective also. It's a kind of almost like a comment, but I was doubting what's the difference in between a Big Boss and this project. It's not a question. Maybe we can have a chat on it.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. It is just that, when we were having this doubt which was coming into, because True Story and all had come by that time in Hollywood, and there were many other works, similar kind of works had happened around the world. So we were worried about it also. But so that's what we thought, is not to do any kind of. He was all alone in it. There was absolutely nobody coming in, going out or anything. So it was like, so then we also were worried about it. Then why is it not like a cage? Why don't we put an animal in it and keep feeding it? Give like it's a kind of a cage where. Because it's also kind of thinking about what could be a protest or what could be a looking at it. So we were very much sure that nobody should go in and come and interact with him or anything. Just a newspaper used to go in the morning, like how he lives in his room. A newspaper goes into his, milk goes every day into his room. There's a door and there's a calling bell also. So the bell rings and everything goes. But yeah, there is this thing of Big Boss and the public. And the kind of, but I think we were trying to finding out the rapture, because everything, the kind of regular thing which was happening, and we wanted to question it in a bigger way, in a larger way, in a reactive way. So probably we got those reactions also. This is the most biggest failure of 50 years of National School of Drama. Something like this shouldn't happen ever. So all those projects also, all those reactions which were also there, but there were also many other ways of looking into it. Yeah, but I'm not able to answer your question about this big.
That's what I was just saying. It's a conversation. It's not a critique. It was just a reading. I'm also thinking that in that sense, I was sharing my thoughts on this. And I really wanted to congratulate that, also I would really believe that, all kinds of hybridity, all kinds of art should come together. Art, music, theater, I used to experience that in my school days. I never seen a poet going to a theater place. Sorry. There is some other.
Yeah, there is.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
So I think, bringing back, it is important that, collective of different thinkers, different kind of practitioners should.
Yes.
With Vivan Sundaram and 4 of you, I think 4 or 5 of you have done that project, which is really, really amazing. That, like public spaces moving from one site to the other, which is also kind of dislocating sites. Really a good idea to work with. So really, I wanted to just congratulate and also like to be part of these kind of initiative. And thank you so much for the conversation, Lokadharmi and Abhishek ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Anaka would like to ask us a question.
Yeah, before that, I would like to say Kalerani is here. I will go for Anaka's question. Kalerani was very much part of this Memories of a Legend. So she was part of it years before. So if she would like to respond something later.
Yeah, she will. Anaka, you can come in and ask.
Yeah. Namaste, sir. Sir, it was very impressive and very informative. Thank you very much. Because we don't get to see such kind of theater much. We especially come to Bharangam or whenever our shows are there, we stay back to see such performances. So thank you very much. I am really curious about the process of these things. Another thing is, what is the exact motive behind it? Because when we do some plays, there is the exact thing, I need to tell the story, or I need to say something or comment something politically, or some or the other motive is there behind our efforts of making the play. So I'm eager to know about the motive and the process. Thank you, sir.
Okay. The process is, as I told you, mostly it is completely collaborative. It is about each individual, each space, each material, what it brings, how we perceive, how we conceive. There are directors who also work with animals, what animal brings and what you give it. Like I think Romeo Castellucci has also worked with a particular animal. So the process is about everybody bringing whatever they have, and then you start collaborating with it and not removing those things for a particular story or a content or for a narrative. And from there, whatever generates. Maybe a narrative, maybe a feeling, maybe a sensuality of it. So that is how it happens. And as far as you asked, the second one was, so there's a lot of devising in the process. There's a lot of idea generation which happens in the process. So all this happens, and you can see the process is not complete unless and until the spectators audience comes, and when they come, they watch, or they also become part of it, then only the process gets completed in a way. And that process never gets completed in another way, because it is a loop or a chain. Whenever it happens, it keeps going. So probably it is also not sustainable in a way. It is anti-sustainable. It's like Glasshouse project, as Chandra Sanjay told, will do now. It will be a different context. You can't do every year. You can't take it every year or show by show like how theater functions. It's about all those anti-stands which the regular theater has so easily gone. And even though it had a difficult time, regular theater, to reach here, now that has become regular theater, which is easily transportable, which goes from one place to another proscenium theater to another proscenium theater to another stage, show after show after show. But then what about a performance like this, which are also, so it's deeply questioning the whole theater culture also. That is one of the, so, and the reasoning is about, like how I told you or showed you some of the works, is how the questioning may be different, asking the basic grammar of theater itself, which we think are the basic in terms of regular theater. That has been also questioned. And then you are asking why we are doing this. I think, as I told you before, probably, I think it is like what we are today is something which shouldn't be taken out, rather that should be kept, and then that should be, it's like if a language is a problem, let us keep the language as a problem and then make something with it. Similarly, if you have machines of parts inside our body, let us have that. If we have a small microphone fixed in my neck after surgery, where my sound is being generated from there, there are medical terms for this. then why can't I perform? That could be my performance. I can bring it. And probably that could be the Macbeth, or that's what Romeo Catalici has done through his works. So it's also mutated body. It is also the body of today with which we are trying to perform, of what we are today. So it's like if the world is the whole hospital. This is after the Second World War. So we should know that we are not anymore in the constructing of the fictional world with which we are so used to, and we would love to see that, and the representational world with which we think art is moving us. But sometimes we have to really question that. Is art moving us, or is it the other way looking into? With the representational way of art. So that's what it is about. Why we need this is, the answer is towards that. Hope I am able to answer it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Late Kalirani. Unmute.
First, I like to thank Abhilash ji that that time I did Malay, this NST festival. So he invited me part of the program. I was so happy that he invited me. So thank you so much. And then the process, what I felt, we spoke nearly 7 languages. 7 or 11? I think 7.
Sorry?
How many languages? 7, no?
Which
languages.
one?
Languages.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, there were actually, I think
11.
Yeah, 11. I think there was French also in English.
Yeah, 11.
There was German. There were, because they were all backstage artists. There was a French, I think, sound designer, and all their language also came into. Yes.
Yeah, 11 languages. So it's for me, when I work, it's so much experience, not because of Abhilash ji, I'm saying like this. It's so tough to understand different languages. So to understand the language, whether when I'm speaking Tamil, it's so difficult for me because most of them know Hindi. Most of them know Hindi. And these 5 directors, the Sri Lankan directors, helped the other Sri Lankan actors. So for me, it's very difficult because how I am understanding the language, the way when I'm speaking, whether I'm speaking in the rhythm of the play rhythm. And they gave me a male role, Baba's uncle. So though we have a male actors that time, they gave me a male role. I teaching Baba the fighting and everything. So I know a little bit martial arts, so it's helped me to flow with that movement. What is the interesting part means most of the times I also be the audience because very interesting, so many things happening there, and it's like something very, for the audience it's too much. I think it was, you should be alert to see everywhere, you can't miss any places. So it's like a crossroad. So 4 corners there is a small TV screen like that, they project all our faces, and big screen backside when we are acting, that also project. We scream and do some action, that also screen, and some of the visual they showed, and the movement everywhere will come, 4 place will come. So it's much interesting where we are coming and how we actors know how to keep the 15 different that means 3 actors from each country, then the 5 directors, and Abhilash, is very kind and helped us so much. I won't say it's a director kind of thing, very friendly, and he every time support us. So it's for an actor, this kind of experience we should have. It's a wonderful experience, and my dialogue, I don't know whether I'm speaking correctly. So I given my script to Mangai, she translate and sent to me. So it's very helpful because she's Malayali and Tamil. So it's very somehow the sound rhythm It's helped the way how I'm going to speak. So the following the rhythm of the play, it's a different language only, it's a problem. How we are speaking, and the audience should read the subtitle also. So it's like too many things happening. It's very interesting. Thank you so much, Abhilash.
Thank you, Kalairaniji. Thank you.
And Upendra would love to comment or ask something very briefly. Come on, Upendra.
Sir, regarding post-dramatic, whenever we read or whenever we watch, we always end in confusion. But today's lecture is like a reference, and I will come back again and again to ascertain what do we mean by post-dramatic in the context of Indian. Sir, you are really great, sir. This is number one. And very important understanding of today's lecture is the post-dramatic has redefined the term real life and experience. And there is a sort of in-betweenness which is happening in the actor and in the audience as well. For example, the actor is in between that he is living and as well as he is performing. So, and then the audience, they come and they are also in between. Logically, it is saying that they are watching a live, but they are entering into a fictional space forcefully or constructing or conceiving. And finally, a constructed aesthetics also creating. Again, it is not real. And they are in between. So the whole world is in betweenness, and finally you have brought in the context, in the concept of post-dramatic, and saying, and this in betweenness is real, and that can be art and that can be real. Oh, such a great poetic, sir. You made us to, get this idea popped up to generate in my mind, sir. I'm really happy. To say happy, I have used this sentence and these words. Thank you, Abhilash and Chandradasan, sir. Thank you. Great.
Thank you, Upendra.
Yes.
Thank you, Upendra.
Yes, sir.
We made it in a nutshell.
Yes, sir.
And anybody with the last question?
Abhilash, can you tell about that circus clown work? If you can.
Okay.
Kalirani Upendra, hello. Namaskaram.
Hello, namaskaram.
Yes.
See, I kept circus outside from this talk because that even though it can be brought into this similar umbrella, but I was just thinking that because that's something I think that has a completely different narrative also, even though circus comes with the post-dramatic. But I was just thinking, because there's a long journey of circus and a long journey of research and work which has gone into circus. So I thought not to bring circus into this talk, because that should be another chapter or another way of, again, another 10 years of work with circus companies and working together and looking into 2 different productions which we did, or 2 different projects which we did. So it's a different trajectory. I thought I shouldn't bring it into it, which has post-dramatic elements a lot. But
already in our earlier talk, Deepan Shivaraman has brought in the clowns and circus and shown us clips, and he has elaborated it. He's just typed he has to leave right now. Otherwise, we should have asked him to come in and brief it. But it is there in our Facebook page of Deepan's talk. It is covered there. But maybe in a different perspective as a designer, Abhilash can bring out some new aspects about it. But it is already there since Abhilash is not answering. That's why I said some reference is there in Deepan's earlier talk.
Because it is a subject by itself, and it definitely has post-dramatic elements a lot. But it's like if you talk, it will take time, and that's why I'm just keeping it up.
Talatam and Clouds and Clowns both have been shown and discussed briefly there. Ajay Joshi, would you love to come and speak something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just quite breathless, Abhilash, and breathless not because of the content, but the fact that you got us out of our comfort zones. And I mean, it's phenomenal. The way two things that really struck me predominantly is when you work with, when you talk very comfortably about collaborations, but you realize that people from different countries come with different cultural sensibilities, and putting them on one page is one of a huge challenge. One thing, and second is when you speak about collaborations between different medias. When you come in that section, when you're talking about the digital media, you're talking about the body, you're talking about sounds, all these things, and each of these medias come with their own limitations, their own in that way, their own language. So it's not easy to kind of flow, let's say, the body into a digital media, or get the sound from the microphone onto something else. So I can well imagine the kind of work that must have gone in. And I'm also very I was actually, this thing was coming constantly to me, because I am more of a person who would watch as much theater as I can. And you talked about the post-dramatic elements, and you said that text, body, space, time, and media. And I was wondering where the audience is in this whole, exercise. And I was so thankful in a way that right at the center, something that we missed. I've been missing it right through your talk, because I was kind of completely enamored and taken away by the images which you showed, that the audience was right there in the center. And I think the last question which Shirina asked from Dubai, that point came up, and I think it's very important. Having said that, I also am still quite confused about the sensibilities of the audience when they're watching stuff. How this is a struggle that I think all of us have always been going. How do you raise that threshold for them to connect or to engage with these kind of visuals? Of course, because of lack of time, you went very quickly through that PowerPoint presentation which you showed, but every part, because these images are not singular linear images, they are complex images. Even an image of a light falling on a certain body, or the shadow which Maya Rao comes up when she's transacting between shadow, real life, and the image of the house, and she's doing that narrative. Now, each of these are very, very complex narratives going on simultaneously. So how do I, as an audience, or rather, how do we as theater people train the audience to connect with this kind of thing? So this has been exciting, and I'm glad that it is not ending as a conclusion, but it ends. You have opened many more doors for us to have sleepless nights, I think, and keep thinking about it. And I think that is basically the whole essence of post-dramatic, is that you do not necessarily come to answers, but you open more and more doors and explore the possibilities of this engagement with this kind of work. So I don't know whether it makes any sense, but yes, I'm pretty disturbed, and I'm not sure how the rest of them are. But your talk is going to linger on for a long time, and I still hope that each of these elements are discussed at length at some point of time, and we get a more chance to see the images which you had to run through, because those images you could, I think, talk a lot about those. Maybe at some point of time we'll see if Chandradasan can be convinced to get you back with specifically talking about these elements, different elements. So thank you, Abhilash, for this lovely interaction.
But thank you very much. I would like to say, I was thinking something, then I thought, no, it is, because see, again, what we are doing, like we are talking about post-dramatic, and I was thinking this post-dramatic is about also not depend on words. And I am talking, and you all are listening. So we are talking. So I thought, how can this presentation can be made post-dramatic at a point where I can make this point, see the talk, what talk can do to us, and when the talk has been switched off to something else, then what happens, Ajay? I was just thinking about these things and how to make it, because I had seen a very interesting show of a missing employee, I think from Lebanon, an artist who, hello, can you listen?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, we can hear you.
And I could see that he was telling a narrative to all of us, and suddenly, and he's telling about a missing employee. He was from his own diary. He was reading. This is a performance which I saw, and in Delhi, and about a missing employee. And by the end, and he's been showing. It's all live shoot in the auditorium he's sitting, and we have a screen on the stage. There is a small screen, video screen, on which he's showing all his diaries, different pages, and how he has maintained one missing employee in Lebanon, how government employees started missing when they start asking a question to the government. And then while seeing and images were coming, and then some interviews were shown in the TV channels, how his family is trying to look after and all. But end of the that show really worked for me, because I was just thinking similarly in a post-dramatic presentation of a lecture, what should be post-dramatic in it. So at the end of the end of this whole performance, we keep seeing that screen, and we realize that this man is not there anymore to say the story, but the story is still continuing. So there is something of the storyteller is no more there. He is also missing, like an employee. He's not there for curtain call. He's not there for anything. And in BRM it was, so the people were there with the flowers and thank you very much. Our performance bahut acha tha. And they kept the guests also ready to come on the stage and give it to him. But he's missing. So that was something which was quite strongly post-dramatic for me. That the whole question of this whole curtain call and in this Indian tradition of festivals where we give flowers and all those things, was everything was questioned. And even though he never came on the stage, he was always in the auditorium and just saying the story, sitting in front of a camera in between the audience. So I was just thinking similarly, if I was just thinking that if in a post-dramatic lecture, how should I make it happen? So that what could be the role of audience, because you are the audience in a way to the lecture, and how then it makes, because it is difficult to make audience prepared for it, just keep doing it. And that's what I am trying in between, not always, because you don't get funds for it. You have to keep trying a lot of funds from there, here, everywhere. Then you do a project like this, but probably slowly it may come into place.
Yeah, this post-dramatic performances, its aesthetics, it's developing and it's changing and it's shifting very dramatically itself. So that we cannot just finish and conclude and say a final word, something like that. But no, Ajay Joshi, you have made new doors open to this whole discourse. Like you have put in a very important thing like cultural collaborations. What happens when somebody from some other country comes in and works in a distant or alien country? How does the political interest, aesthetic priorities, his own sensibilities, his own needs decides the interaction? There is the privileged, underprivileged societies, cultures, viewpoints, all these things are there. How does and where does this collaboration or mutuality happens? That's a big question which has been asked to every multi-ethnic kind of performances. So these are new questions, cultural, political, aesthetic, regarding to life. That's a new thing about collaborations. Technology versus man. Technology is not very new in theater. Merrill started it, or even much before we have started that time technology into it and tried to evolve the language of performance or theater, whatever you call it. So, and the aesthetics, the experience, and again about there's a problem with that's what I feel about showing that the visual images documented from whatever which Abhilash has shown us. It doesn't put an equal of watching it live, because when you're seeing it, you have a lot of things happening around. Images, shadows, projections, actors, the other audience also. So there is a priority of each person to selectively view, accept, discard. People will be seeing different things. So that is not there. Here it's decided by the camera, the footage, the edited version of the thing that comes in. So what you actually, when you are actually in the real position, what you do or what you not do. There are multiplicity of possibilities for an audience also. That cannot be here in this kind of, but it's not possible. You have to experience it and be there. So you can, sometimes the book will be there, you can read the book, you can peep through, you can walk out, you can go to the next thing. All things can happen just like you are in a carnival space. Where so many things are happening. So that selectivity, even when in theater we does that, in a normal theater, we go and sometimes we see the play, sometimes we see an actor, sometimes we talk, sometimes we do not hear. This kind of selectivity of the audience and what and how it is decided is the next kind of aesthetical question about the whole event. So these are new questions, new doors, and many more doors can be opened to supplement this discourse, to take it forward, etc. So I'm very happy that we could have new perspectives on the whole new kind of events happening around. So anybody else would like to speak? We have a lot of people complimenting, and if anybody wants, you can very briefly come in and talk, because the time is already over. We usually want to stop it at 1:30, but we can go up to 1:45 or a little more. That's all.
I would like to just add something here. It's just that in collaboration, it's very personal experience. When you collaborate, it's like just collaborating with different artists from different nations or different disciplines. I don't know, to me it becomes very rich. For my next 2 or 3 production, I become quite comfortable. And as a teacher, it actually gives me a kind of a re-evaluation, not only, but also a kind of a training for me for looking into all different aspects and rehauling myself. And I always return back into class with the students after collaboration, much more healthier than doing a regular production and then going back to the classroom. Because in the regular production, you read a lot and then you do research and then you get into it and directing. But with a collaboration, you have so much of an experience, and there's some change which happens, which always invariably helps you as a teacher to develop further into your methodology and process of pedagogy.
So anybody else to say anything? And Rajesh Karti in Facebook has posted a comment regarding that Big Boss comment. He feels that Big Boss is a well-designed and manipulated drama, and the Glasshouse project is all about post-traumatic. That's an interesting comment posted by Rajesh Karti. So anybody else? So it was so nice to have Abhilash and so many of our friends sitting together in a virtual space, a post-traumatic space, and interacting with the help of media and the cyber. And so I have to formally thank everybody, and really thank you, Abhilash. As Ajay said, we can maybe after some time we can just pinpoint and to a sharper kind of thing, and we can think about that. But this was a very great introduction to what's happening around. And so next week we have Dr. K.J. Paulus with Natya Shastra and the position of the audience in Natya Shastra, which is rarely discussed. We discuss about the other aspects of Natya Shastra, but not the position of audience as in Natya Shastra by Bharata, not the other readings. So that will be his focus point next week.
Thank you so much, Abhilash Pillai and Chandrarathan sir. It's every day, every week, it's a mind blowing. It's very interesting.
Thank
you. Nice treat.
And Kalyarani is almost every day she is attending. And once we have to get hold of her and talk about her experience also. We'll wait for that.
I like to be an audience.
So thank you, Abhilash sir and Chandrarathan sir. Thank you, sir.
Again.